You know that feeling? That specific feeling deep in your stomach. You're at a dinner table, maybe you're in a team meeting at work, and on paper, everything seems fine.
Right. No one's yelling.
No one's yelling, no one's throwing chairs, but you feel, I don't know, hunted. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. Or worse, you find yourself apologizing for something you're pretty sure you didn't even do.
It's that classic glitch in the matrix moment in a relationship, isn't it? You know something is off, but the other person is so good at the game that you start to wonder if maybe you're the one who's broken.
That exact feeling, that cognitive dissonance, is what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the incredibly blurry line between healthy influence and, well, toxic manipulation.
It's a big one.
Because let's be honest, we all try to influence people. We want our kids to eat their broccoli. We want our boss to approve the budget.
You want your partner to put the laundry in the hamper for once.
Exactly. But at what point does, nudging someone cross that line into controlling them?
And it is a critical distinction to make. It's so much harder to spot than most people think. To find that line, we've come through a pretty heavy stack of research for this. We're pulling from Adeline Birch on covert tactics, some of Robert Leary's work on dark psychology.
And we're balancing that against Stephen M. R. Covey's stuff on trust and leadership, which is kind of the light side.
Right, the antidote.
We also have some really harrowing data from Beverly Engel on emotional abuse. I think we need to start there, actually, with the stakes. Because I think a lot of people just brush this stuff off. It's just office politics or, oh, that's just my difficult mother-in-law.
But Engel's research suggests this is way more dangerous than just an annoyance.
How so?
She argues that emotional manipulation can actually be more damaging long-term than physical abuse.
Wow.
I know it's a controversial take for some, but if you look at the mechanism, it starts to make sense. Physical wounds, they're visible, they heal, you know where they came from. But manipulation, it attacks your perception of reality.
It's insidious.
It erodes your self-worth from the inside out, so it's not just hurting you, it's dismantling you.
Okay, so if the stakes are literally your own sanity, we need a way to spot this before it really takes hold. The sources talk about an influence spectrum. Is there like a clear border between a healthy request and a manipulative trap?
Brian Clegg has a model for this that I find really, really useful. So imagine a spectrum. On the far left, you've got pure information sharing, just facts, no agenda.
Okay.
On the far right, you have manipulation. And that huge gray area in the middle, that's influence.
Well, the middle is where we all live, right? So what separates the good influence from the bad manipulation? Is it just about being nice?
No. In fact, being nice is often the best possible cover for manipulation. It really boils down to two key variables, intent and transparency.
Intent and transparency. Okay.
Healthy influence is what Covey calls trust and inspire. You're transparent about what you want, you provide all the information, even the parts that might weaken your case, and ultimately you respect the other person's autonomy, their right to say no.
Whereas manipulation is. It's the opposite. It relies on hiding things.
Exactly. Manipulation relies on concealment. It operates below the radar of conscious awareness. The goal isn't to help you make a decision. The goal is to completely bypass your rational mind. It's command and control disguised as care.
Clegg makes a distinction here that I found super helpful. The difference between misinformation and disinformation.
Yes.
We hear those terms all the time in the news, but they apply so perfectly to personal relationships.
They absolutely do. Misinformation is, simply put, an accident. If I tell you, hey, the meeting's at 2, but I honestly forgot it was moved to 3, that's misinformation. I'm sloppy, maybe, but not malicious.
But disinformation, that's a strategy.
Disinformation is telling you the meeting is at 2 when I know it's at 3. Because I want you to look desperate by showing up early, or I want you to look incompetent by showing up late. The action giving the wrong time is the same, but the intent changes everything. It turns a mistake into a weapon.
Let's ground this. The sources had a great example with a cell phone that I think everyone can relate to.
The classic modern conflict.
Yeah. Scenario. You're annoyed, your partner's scrolling Instagram while you're trying to talk to them.
Yep.
So the healthy influence approach uses that transparency we were talking about.
Right.
You'd say something like, hey, I feel a little disconnected when you're on your phone. I really miss talking with you. Could we maybe do a no-phone rule for dinner?
Notice the structure there. You state your feeling, you explain the why, and you make a direct request. You hand them the data, and you respect their choice.
Now, the manipulative version. This one terrified me because I have seen this happen so many times.
You all have.
You don't say anything. You just go quiet.
Yeah.
You start sighing. You start clanging the dishes just a little too loudly.
The infamous cold shoulder.
And when they finally ask, is something wrong? You say, nothing. But you say it in that tone that clearly means everything is wrong and it's your fault.
And here's why that's manipulation. In the first scenario, if they put the phone away, it's because they agree connection is important. They've made a choice. In the second, they put the phone away to manage your mood. They're complying to avoid punishment. That's not influence, that's behavior modification through anxiety.
It's so subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it,
Right.
which leads to a darker question. Who does this? I mean, who defaults to this kind of behavior? Is it just bad habits we all have, or is it something deeper?
Well, look, we all have our moments. We all get passive-aggressive when we're tired or stressed, but the research points to a specific cluster of personality types that use these tactics systematically. Psychologists call it the dark triad.
Which sounds like a team of supervillains from a comic book.
And it essentially is. You've got narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy.
We are narcissists thrown around so much now, especially on social media. But in this context, it's that extreme need for admiration and entitlement.
Notice. The narcissist manipulates to feed their ego. Then you have Machiavellianism. This is your chess player. They see people as pawns, as pure utility. They're strategic, cold, calculating.
And psychopathy.
In the clinical sense here, it's really about a profound lack of empathy and remorse. They can hurt you, see you're hurting, and just feel nothing. And when you combine those traits, entitlement, strategy, and zero empathy, you get a highly effective manipulator.
So let's open their toolkit.
Hmm.
The sources laid out 5 specific tactics. And these aren't just mean things people do, they're psychological weapons. The first one you called the slot machine effect.
The technical term is intermittent reinforcement, and honestly, this is the one I think is the most dangerous, because it literally changes your brain chemistry.
This is why people stay in toxic relationships for so long. It's an addiction.
It is. Think about a slot machine. If you pulled the lever and never won, you'd walk away.
Of course.
If you won every single time, you'd get bored. But the machine is designed to pay out just often enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to satisfy you. You get hooked on the maybe.
So in a relationship, this is the person who's amazing one week, just flowers, compliments, incredible connection, and then the next week, they're cold, distant, cruel even.
And your brain just goes into overdrive. You start thinking, what did I do wrong? I know they can be great. I saw it last week. How do I get that good version of them back? You become addicted to the chase, to the dopamine hit of those rare good moments.
Psychological heroin. You're chasing the high of the good days to numb the pain of the bad ones.
It's a perfect analogy, and the manipulator knows exactly when to drop that one little crumb of affection to keep you from walking away for good.
Okay, tactic number 2. This one creates a totally different kind of damage. It attacks your reality. Gaslighting.
Ugh, gaslighting. It's a systematic attempt to make the victim doubt their own memory, their own perception, their own sanity.
The stats here were they were shocking. 95% of survivors of narcissistic relationships experience this.
It's everywhere because it works. And it starts so small. You say, hey, you promised you'd pick up the kids. And they say, I never said that. You must be imagining things. Or you're just being too sensitive.
And if it happens once, whatever, you brush it off. But if it happens every day for 5 years,
you stop trusting your own brain. You start checking with the manipulator to figure out what's real. And once they control your reality, they own you. It's the ultimate form of dependency.
Tactic 3 is one we touched on, but I want to go a little deeper. The silent treatment. The sources didn't just call it sulking. They called it a technique of torture.
And that sounds dramatic, I know, but biologically, it's accurate. We are social animals. Our nervous systems are literally wired for connection. When someone you care about looks right through you, refuses to acknowledge your existence, it triggers the same part of the brain that registers physical pain.
The anterior cingulate cortex, right?
Exactly. Being ignored literally hurts. It creates this profound state of panic and shame. It's a primal exclusion response. And the victim will do almost anything to stop that pain of being invisible. They'll apologize for things they didn't do. They'll abandon their own needs just to get a word, a nod, anything.
It forces them into submission. Which brings us to tactic 4, the trap that gets you in the door in the first place. Love bombing.
The too good to be true phase.
I think we've all seen this. The whirlwind romance where they're saying, I love you on date 2. Or the new boss who says, You are the genius we've been waiting for on your first day.
It feels incredible, but it's really intel gathering. While they're showering you with all that praise, they're learning your insecurities, your dreams, your weaknesses. They're building you up on a pedestal, but not to keep you there. It's so they can kick it out from under you later. The fall is part of the plan.
So it's like purchasing loyalty with counterfeit currency.
That's a great way to put it. 79% of survivors reported this happening at the start of the relationship. It creates this debt of gratitude that makes it so much harder to leave when the abuse begins. You keep thinking, but they were so nice in the beginning.
And finally, tactic number 5, weaponizing guilt and shame. I really appreciated the distinction the sources made between these two.
It's a vital difference. Guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad.
And manipulators don't just want you to feel guilty, they want you to feel ashamed.
Because guilt can be healthy. Guilt can lead to repair, but shame just leads to paralysis. If a manipulator can make you feel that you are fundamentally flawed, that you're lucky they even put up with you, then you won't fight back. You'll believe you deserve the mistreatment.
Okay. I think we need to take a collective breath here. This is heavy stuff.
It is. It's dark.
But we promised a deep dive on the line between this and healthy influence. We can't just leave everyone paranoid. We have to talk about the alternative. How do we influence people without destroying them?
This is where we pivot, away from command and control and toward trust and inspire. And honestly, Stephen Covey tells a story that illustrates this better than any academic theory ever could. It's the story of Green and Clean.
I love this story. It's about parenting, but it applies to every single CEO listening to this.
So Covey is trying to teach his 7-year-old son to take care of the yard. Now, the normal way, the command and control way, would be to hover. Pick up that stick, mow in a straight line, you missed a spot over there.
Total micromanagement.
Which is exhausting for the parent and just demoralizing for the kid. So instead, Covey tries trust and inspire. He walks his son over to a neighbor's yard that looks perfect and says, look, this is what we're aiming for, green and clean.
He focused on the outcome, not the method.
He gave the boy a vision. And then, and this is the terrifying part for most leaders, he gave him autonomy. He said, I don't care how you do it. Use a bucket, a hose, spit on it for all I care. I'm here if you need help, but this is your job.
He trusted a 7-year-old with a huge responsibility.
And because the father operated from a place of belief, a belief that there was greatness in his son, the son rose to the occasion. He didn't just clean the yard. He became obsessed with it. He was dragging his dad outside to show off his work. He wasn't working to avoid punishment. He was working for pride.
That is the shift. Manipulators believe people are things to be moved. Healthy influencers believe people have greatness that needs to be unlocked.
But here's the catch. Most of us think we're the green and clean dad. The data says we are not.
Right. Covey's trust gap.
The 277% difference, it's staggering. You ask leaders, do you trust your team? And almost all of them say, yes, of course. But then you ask the teams, does your leader trust you? And the numbers just fall off a cliff. We judge ourselves by our good intentions, but we judge everyone else by their behavior.
So we end up micromanaging while telling ourselves we're being empowering.
Exactly.
So how do we actually do this? Trusting can feel a bit vague. Covey has a tool, right? The stewardship agreement.
He does, and it's basically a contract for healthy influence. It has 5 specific steps, and the key is you have to do these with the person, not to them.
Okay, step 1, desired results.
Be crystal clear on the what. Green and clean is a result. Increase sales by 10% as a result. If you're ambiguous here, it just breeds manipulation later because the goalposts can always move.
Step 2, guidelines.
What are the boundaries? And these shouldn't be a detailed how-to manual. They should be the big don'ts, you know? Don't paint the grass green, don't bribe the client. Keep them minimal so creativity has room to breathe.
Step 3, resources.
This is how you show you're on their team. Do they need a budget? Training? Just some of your time. This proves you're a partner, not just a taskmaster.
Step 4, accountability. This feels like the big one where most managers fail.
And crucially, in a healthy dynamic, it's self-accountability. In the yard story, the son walked the yard himself and told his dad how he did. He judged his own work. If you're the one constantly grading them, you're right back to control.
And finally, step 5, consequences.
What happens if it goes well? What happens if it fails? When you agree on the rewards and the fallout up front, you remove all the fear. There are no hidden agendas. All the cards are on the table.
It sounds like a lot more work up front than just barking orders.
It's definitely heavy lifting on the front end. but it pays off massively in performance. And we have neuroscience to back this up too. Paul Zach's research on oxytocin is fascinating.
The trust molecule.
Exactly. Zach found that when people feel genuinely trusted, when they feel like partners instead of pawns, their brains release oxytocin. It reduces fear, it increases empathy. He found high-trust organizations have something like 106% more energy at work.
So just being a decent human being is actually a competitive advantage.
Who knew? But there's one last piece to this puzzle, and it directly counters that narcissists' need for perfection. It's called the pratfall effect.
I love this one. The idea that being vulnerable actually makes you more influential.
Yes. We think that to lead, we have to be flawless. But the pratfall effect shows that if you're generally seen as competent, making a mistake and then admitting it actually makes people like and trust you more.
Because it makes you human. It makes you real.
A manipulator has to construct this facade of perfection. They can never be wrong because their power comes from being better than you. A healthy influencer can say, you know what, I messed that up, or I don't know the answer, what do you guys think? That vulnerability signals safety. It says we are in this together.
It really brings it all back to the core difference. Manipulation is about shrinking the world. It creates scarcity. Only I can save you. Only I know the truth.
It isolates the victim completely.
Whereas healthy influence is about expansion.
It ripples out. Covey talks about this ripple effect. When you treat someone with this trust and inspire model, they don't just perform better for you, they tend to go home and treat their families that way.
Wow.
They treat their colleagues that way. You're not just hitting a quota, you're changing the culture of the entire ecosystem around you.
So, after all this, what's the final thought for the listener today?
Yeah.
We've looked at the nightmares, the gaslighting, the silent treatment, and we've looked at the ideal, the stewardship, the trust.
I think the takeaway is that influence is a choice you are making 20, 30 times a day. In every email you send, every request you make, every conflict you navigate, you have to ask yourself, am I trying to control this person to get what I want? Or am I trying to inspire this person to own the result themselves?
It's the difference between asking, how do I make them do it? And how do I help them see the value in it?
Precisely. One treats people like objects, the other treats them like agents.
And that takes checking your own ego. It takes real transparency.
So maybe this week, just pay attention to that gut feeling. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells with someone, pause and look for the pattern. Are you stuck in a command and control loop? And maybe more importantly, look at how you're leading. Are you brave enough to let the grass be green and clean without telling them exactly how to mow it?
A challenge for all of us. Thank you for listening to this deep dive. It's a heavy topic, but hopefully now you have some tools to spot the dark side and to practice the light side. We'll see you next time. Take care.